Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, world. Welcome once again to Tuesday Talk with Key West Lou. I am your host, Louis Patrone. Well, my friends, I welcome you back to another week after an exciting week of events worldwide. There's so much to talk about. I cannot talk about all of it. I do not try to talk about all of it on this show. And I try not to talk about the things you can hear on ordinary television, regular television every day, and read in the newspapers. I'm talking about the oddball things that I think are related to or occur or will occur as a result of what is going on. This is a call-in show, too. The number 646-478-5731, 646-478-5731. Please feel free to call me. Okay, I'm going to start tonight with about 4 or 5 things that rub me wrong or they bother me, and I think they should be exposed a bit, and we should talk about them a bit. The first is this past week, a panel of prominent people came out with a report, and the report urged an end to the United States ban on transgenders in the military. Remove the ban on transgenders in the military. I've lived a long life. I'm 78. There was a time when women could not participate in the military, and there was a big ballyhoo, and I could see nothing wrong with women getting into the military, and finally they did, and now they even fight. They do everything the men do. And then came the issue of gays in the military, and after a number of years in different positions, gays are accepted in the military. Gays are accepted everywhere as they should have been from day one. So now that's behind us. But now we come to transgenders, and you appreciate or you know what a transgender is. It's a man who thinks he's a woman or a woman in a woman's body who thinks she's a man. They generally go through a partial or total sex change, and then they feel better because mentally they are. The woman who thinks she's a man is mentally a man, and she has trouble living as a woman. Okay. Turns out, it's interesting when you get into this stuff, turns out that 12 nations presently permit transgenders in the military, and this includes Australia, Canada, England, and Israel. Further turns out that in the United States military at the present time, there are 15,500 people in the military who are transgenders, over 15,000. Here's what I think. And on this one, I don't have I have an open mind, but I don't have a feeling or an opinion yet. I do know this. If I'm a soldier and I'm in the barracks, I don't know if I want to sleep or I want to be next to a guy that has breasts but male genitalia. It doesn't make sense to me, okay? I don't understand this. Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm prejudiced about this. I don't know. I don't know if I made a final decision. I don't think so. But this is a rather awkward decision. This is apparently a problem, though, in the United States, and I have spoken about transgenderism over the last 2 years on my television show, my other radio shows here, and in my newspaper writings and my daily blogs. Governor Jerry Brown of California last year said we have a transgender problem in California, and it's serious. And so he ultimately pushed through the state legislature and signed into law a bill that went into effect this past January 1. Grammar school and high school children in the state of California in public schools may choose which bathroom they wish to use and which locker room. So an 8-year-old boy dressed as a boy who thinks he's a girl may use the ladies' room. So there's got to be a problem. There is a problem, and now it's into the military situation. I don't know the answer. I'm really screwed up on this one. Just wanted to share with you what is happening because I think the movement is on the move. Let's talk about Social Security. Not a boring topic. Do you know? This is wild. I'm going to tell you a story. You remember, was it Annie Oakley or something? Annie, get your gun. Now we got Granny, get your gun. The Social Security Agency is stockpiling bullets. You heard me, bullets. The Social Security recently bought ammunition. They purchased 174,000 hollow point bullets. 174,000 hollow point bullets. And when asked why, I mean, I don't know any old people that they have to go after where they need a gun. They said, all our investigators, they are armed when they are on duty. In fact, they carry .357 caliber pistols. That's big stuff, folks. .357 caliber pistols rather. But it really comes down to about 590 bullets per agent per year, and most of those they use in practice on the firing range. Well, I can't believe every Social Security agent carries a gun. I remember when I signed up for Social Security, I doubt that the lady who was on the payroll took care of me was carrying a gun. The woman I've had to see here in Key West a couple of times at the federal building because I lost my cards, I can't believe she was packing a weapon. So I think they're trying to minimize something that may be out of line. The bullets, by the way, they were asked, why hollow point bullets? And they said because, well, first of all, do you know what a hollow point bullet does? It doesn't go very far. It hits the body, and it causes massive tissue damage. It expands when it hits the body. It's bad stuff. Expands when it hits the body, causes massive damage. Social Security says this is a better thing for us to use than a regular bullet because the bullet, the hollow that makes me laugh. The hollow point bullet stops when it hits a person's body. It doesn't go through that body and perhaps hits another person. So we're being careful. Let me tell you something. I think this is all bullshit. I'm worried about this. We've read about other federal agencies. They're buying guns. They buy bullets. I think they fear that there is coming or may come some kind of revolution in this country. And I'm not subscribing to it. I think it's stupid. But there is a sense out there. Things aren't right in this country anymore, and people are getting upset. And they're getting ready because so many people have guns. This is terrible because this is the case, I think. This one group against another, and now they're gunning up for the whole thing. And another thing bothers me. In the last 2 years, more and more people have spoken to me, and they've raised the issue. I haven't raised it. Just in passing, that they think things are amiss in our country. Something's wrong. And they sense there could be an upheaval. The people could get upset and go to the streets, and then who knows what the hell could happen. There could be a change in government here. So it's something to be concerned about, that Social Security bought bullets. Now we're going to go to the Ukraine, very short, just for a short bit. I have been talking about the rise of Nazism in Germany, Adolf Hitler's Nazi philosophy. I've been talking about it. I've been speaking about it in Greece for 3 years. I've referred to it in the last 2 years and its growing power and presence in Italy. And this year I've started talking about it in the Ukraine because the Ukraine is in the news. Do you know, and listen to what I'm telling you, I've spoken about this already on this show. I spoke about this on my television show. I've written about it a couple of times. There is a Nazi party in the Ukraine, in Kyiv. It is strong. It's not a bullshit thing. It is a very strong party. It's called the Right Sector, which means at the front. During the demonstrations that have occurred thus far in the Ukraine, members of the Nazi Party have been in those crowds demonstrating, and properly so, carrying their Nazi flag. Have you seen it in the news? Have you seen it on the American newspapers reported? Because that's where I'm going with this thing. We don't get told what's going on. This is a very powerful group in the Ukraine. They got money, and we send them more money. The United States has already sent money to the group that is opposing the Russian groups. In that group that opposes the Russians are the Nazis, and they are a strong part of that group. They have a leadership role in that group. Senator McCain Our Senator McCain, who wants boots on the ground everywhere, and today we're all Crimeans and Ukrainians, he had his picture taken with the head of the Nazi Party in the Ukraine. It was all over the European papers. Did you see it in the United States? An Assistant Secretary of State, some woman, I can't recall her name at the moment, she had her picture taken with the head of the Nazi Party in the Ukraine. That was all over the European papers. Did we see it here in the United States? I don't like the silence. I don't like the fact, because I talk about this every week now, that there is less and less transparency in our government. We know less and less of what is really going on, which is wrong. Government should be an open book. It's worked for over 200 years. Why is it not going to work now? Okay? So we should know these things. And it is said, I don't know if this is true. It's been said, I read this somewhere once, I can't remember where in the last month, that there's an understanding, a gentleman's understanding between the United States government and the United States media to keep this Nazi thing out of the paper, so to speak. Now I'm going to go on to something terrible. Doesn't surprise me if it's true. Again, it's an issue of transparency that we have not been permitted to know something. We should know everything. This is our government. Our government is us, supposedly. I'm going to talk about the CIA. It's recently come out that the Central Intelligence Agency participated in the rape of children in front of their parents in 2004. What are we talking about? We're talking about when we were at war with Iraq, and we're in Guantanamo, and we had people in Guantanamo, people from Afghanistan. We were sending them to the jail at Guantanamo. You will recall all the abuses that were revealed that were going on in Guantanamo against the Muslims. All right? Many of a sexual nature, people standing bare as blood, purportedly to be the blood from a woman's monthly thing, thrown on these Muslims, which means filth, unhealthy, very bad. The family's always supposed to have meant something here. We live to take care of our families, I believe, and I think the family is the basis unit of our nation, and we have to be concerned with the family structure, and we have to protect it. However, back in 2004, this bad thing happened. If it's true, I don't know. I've read about it. I'm reading about it increasingly. Neither our president nor the CIA have told us about it, and apparently Bush II consented to this type of torture. This is at Guantanamo. You know, the Arabs, we look at them strangely. I keep thinking they're nuts, and they probably think the Muslims are nuts, but they see us as a sexually perverse society. And when you think about it, compared to them, we probably are a sexually perverse society. It depends how you define perversion. They don't let the women do anything. Here, it's all loose and easy. Totally different societies, but they look at us as socially perverse. The story is, in 2004, young boys were sodomized. Videos were taken of the situation, just as the beatings, which we've already seen, the torture situations from Guantanamo. There's a soundtrack. The parents were there watching. The deal was, we're going to work over the kids, and then you will tell us what we want to know. These are the children of the parents who were watching. Boys getting sodomized, boys screaming, the reports say on the video. Have you heard about it in the United States? Have you read about it? It is being censored by the media. This is terrible again. What have I talked about tonight? We don't get to know anything anymore. We should know good and bad that's going on. It has been reported that Donald Rumsfeld, we all remember Donald Rumsfeld, what a mistake he was as Secretary of Defense, but he was Bush II's man, and he was aware of it, and he ordered at the time that there should be no release of the videos or any information concerning the sodomization of little boys in front of their parents. Now, staying with these little things that bother me, and I like to chat about, it's the last item tonight in that regard. I want to talk about the Ukraine. Hear what I'm going to say. I've been talking about this. I even mentioned this last week. We're going to get into it a little more deeply this week. 75% of Russia's national income, 75%, a healthy number, depends upon the exportation of natural gas. Now, how do they get this natural gas out of Russia? Remember, 75% of their income depends on that natural gas, going to other countries and other parts of the world so they can make a buck. Well, most of the pipelines pass through the Ukraine. I think there are 8 major pipelines coming in, then they divert here and there, and 7 coming out. Some into other nations, some into seaports, and so forth, okay? Some into rail lines. But they all go through the Ukraine with certain minor exceptions. 16% of the natural gas used in Europe comes from Russia. Germany, 60% of Germany's natural gas comes from Russia, but these Germans are smart. They've made a few bucks in the last couple of years, the last 20 years. Russia and Germany, several years ago, built a pipeline from Russia directly to Germany. It's under the water, no screwing around. The Germans solidified their dependence and use of the natural gas. That's why I never expect Germany to really stand up to Russia in this fight. Now, why am I sharing all this? Russia needs the pipelines. It's also reported that Russia is not as strong militarily as people might think. They're in a pretty weak position militarily. But they stand up. Putin, I think he bluffs a lot. And everybody capitulates. It's like Hitler at Munich. He bluffed. He didn't even want the Sudeten land. If you read the history books afterwards, he said, I didn't even want that land. But they came to give me something, I took it. And Munich, and that was Munich. And remember Chamberlain off the plane, peace in our time. It wasn't true. Well, here's what I think should be done. And this is Lewis. I'm not a military man. I'm not a diplomat. I'm just a guy that's seen a lot in life, and I'm sitting back and I'm saying this. I know bullies. I've had to deal with bullies my entire life. We all have had to deal with bullies. The only way you can deal with a bully is to knock him on his ass, hurt him where it hurts the worst. What would I do if I was the Ukraine? Knowing, of course, I've got the United States and some other nations backing me. I would blow up some of those pipelines. I would sabotage them. Russia totally depends on these lines. I wouldn't have a massive blow-up. I'd pick some strategic positions, and I'd sabotage the line at that point on day 1. On day 2, I would sabotage some more, and I would do it for 7 consecutive days, unless or until the Russians wanted to sit down and talk beforehand. I would also have all these pipelines wired, so only a couple of buttons have to be pressed, and someone can blow them all up at one time if Russia wants to get ballsy and walk in and say, well, we're going to go to war over this. You can't do this to these gas lines, because I don't think they would. Be that as it may, that's what I would do, because you got to hit them back. We're not doing shit. Excuse the way I put it. Kerry gets up every day, the president too, and they say, we're going to do this to you and we're going to do that. So they took, 37 people, and they're going to grab their money in the United States banks? That isn't going to bother them. You've got to hurt them big, and you've got to hurt them soon. You can't screw around, because what they did today, they already did this twice before in the last 20 years, Russia. What they did recently with the Ukraine, they're going to do tomorrow with another part of the former Russian Empire, until they are one huge empire. I saw tonight on the evening news a picture of Putin before the Russian Parliament, which is quite large, by the way, the Russian Parliament. And he was announcing, their success in the Ukraine. They stood up and they cheered him. It reminded me of Adolf Hitler making a speech in the late 1930s to German crowds. We've got to do something. We can't just do talk. I know it's a dangerous situation. You got to confront it at some time. What can I tell you? All right. Now we're going to talk about people who are abusing other people in this country. Because there is a 1%, there is a 99%. And we've got to talk about it. And we've got to talk about it until we do something about it. I want to talk to you about an archbishop, a Catholic archbishop. And understand, I am a Catholic, fallen away, but I'm a product of Catholic education, grammar school, high school, and college. There is an archbishop by the name of John Myers. He's 72 years old. He's from some part of New Jersey. He bought a retirement house in 2002, one man, for $700,000 in Franklin Township, New Jersey. 5 bedrooms, 3 full baths, a 3-car garage, a basement office, and a swimming pool. Now, he's going to live alone, like I'm living alone. I don't even need the 3,300 square feet I'm living in. I'm trying to sell it to move to small. Anyhow, that's not bad. What he's doing now is he's in the process of putting on a $500,000 addition, a $500,000 addition. He's expanding the home by 3,000 square feet, which will bring this retirement home of his up to 7,500 square feet. He's adding a bedroom with a seating area, a large study with an attached library, a full floor art gallery on the top level, 2 additional bathrooms, 3 more fireplaces, an elevator, an exercise pool to go with the regular pool, and a hot tub. The Archbishop's territory that he is in charge of involves 4 counties in New Jersey, involves 1.3 million parishioners. Almost all of them are unhappy with what he is doing with this retirement house, because you have to understand, unless he inherited a few $1 million, which nobody has said, this money is coming from the money that people put in the basket every Sunday at Mass to support the church. This is a time for many years now where Catholic schools are closing because there are not sufficient funds to keep them open, where parishioners can't support their church and their Catholic schools because they're not working or they're making insufficient monies. And yet he is building this big thing, and his money's got to come from the church. A lot of people refuse to give any more money in his diocese or parishes because they feel he's misusing funds. Pope Francis, who we've only had for several months now, he said when he was anointed or nominated to be Pope, he said that the priests, the church, must shed itself of the trappings of luxury. This guy ain't shedding himself. He's expanding it all, okay? The average priest in the United States lives in 2 bedrooms plus a bath, okay? Pope Francis does not even live in the Vatican because he doesn't want all that fancy stuff. He lives in a hotel. He's got a room. He goes to work every day in the Vatican, all right? Here's what I think should be done, and I'm serious about this. We've got to start doing things like this. The bishops in the United States have forgotten, I think, how to serve God. I'm going to say it. That's what I believe. You have the U.S. Conference of Bishops. They're headquartered in Denver. Their budget's, I don't know, $22 million a year or something from the till, again, the basket in the church. And they're the ones that are out there raising hell about contraception. They go before state legislatures. They go and talk to our federal governmental officials. They're on television or on the radio. They're issuing statements to the press. You know, they're saying this is the way contraception has to be, and we're opposed to gays. We're opposed to abortion. They're opposed to this in Obamacare. And they don't care what they say, how it impacts on people who may not even be Catholics but will be affected by it. I say this, and this is hard stuff, but this is the way it is in this world today. They're part of the 1%, by the way, these bishops. I say this. I say let's get an investigator. I'm talking one of the magazines, Time Magazine or somebody's put their special investigator on this. Let's find out how these bishops on the U.S. Commission of Bishops live. I want to know how they live, and then publicize it. This is that transparency that we're losing in this country. We're losing it here also. I want to know what kind of homes they have, what kind of cars they drive. I'm going to tell you something right now. I know the church. Bishops live in mansions. Bishops have staff to help them. They have servants to help them. They ride in limousines, and they have a lot of other things. Now, I just don't like this. I think they've got to be brought to task. That's my money and your money. If I went to church, I don't go to church anymore to give money to the church. But it's wrong. It's wrong because they're getting their nose in our business. Here's what I feel. I don't mind my priest from the pulpit telling me in church on a Sunday, this is wrong and that's wrong and you should not do it. Then it's up to me when I leave that church, because God gave me free conscience to decide whether I want to sin or not to sin. That's it. The priest's job ends in the church. It doesn't continue to the halls of Congress, state legislatures, television shows, and everything else, taking political positions. Rabble-rousing as I look at it. Especially a group from which, over the last 20 years, have come so many pedophile cases. Priests who are fooling around with young boys. We should all be. I'm ashamed as a Catholic this happened, okay? And the money to pay off these claims, where does it come from, my friends? It comes from the basket in the church on Sunday that's passed around. Somebody's better start taking a look at these bishops, because they are part of the 1% also. Staying with this 1%, 99% thing, the Citizens for Tax Justice recently issued a report. They're good guys, by the way. They looked at the top 500 Fortune companies, Fortune 500 companies. The top 26 companies in the Fortune 500 paid 26. The top 26 paid no federal income taxes between 2008 and 2012. This included companies like Boeing, General Electric, and Verizon. Not right. I've been telling you, this country is run on the tax dollars that the little people pay. The big people don't pay taxes. Another thing about this, staying with the money, offshore profits. Many companies have money buried in offshore accounts because these little islands and these other countries, they charge minimal taxes. So if they make a profit in the United States, they say they did it under a corporation that's operating out of this island. It really didn't work there. It's a paper thing. And they put the money there, and they don't have to pay taxes on it in the United States. Last year, Apple and IBM alone put $206 billion in offshore accounts, did not pay taxes on it. There is a total today of just under $2 trillion in offshore accounts. No taxes have been paid on them. They can get away with it, these big corporations, because the Congress of the United States passed laws over the years saying they could do this. The Congress today refuses to sit down and even discuss, forget past laws that would change this. We've got to get that money back in the United States. The corporations want to get it back because if they can't spend it here, all right? You're going to give them a break. You're only going to take maybe 30 or 40% of what you could have taken, and then you're going to set up a system by which you can tax them, and we'll get the thing rolling again, and we'll start making money off corporate America as we should to run this country. But our congressmen don't listen in Washington, and I don't blame them. They're getting all this money to run again through PACs, directly, indirectly. They got millions of dollars sitting in banks for these campaigns. They got all these trips to these conferences at exotic places in the world, and I don't know what else. But those offshore accounts are a problem. Romney had a ton of money when he ran for president. It came out in offshore accounts. We're running out of time. I'm close to the end of the show, and that's going to be my show for this week. I want to share with you a couple of other things, though. This show, as you know, is archived, and as soon as my show is complete, it can be listened to within minutes, and the archived version is there forever. And I got to tell you, I'm absolutely impressed because about 2,000 people a week listen to the show, not tonight, but during the course of the week at their convenience on the archive portion, because that's the way it is today with the Internet and everything else. This show is also on YouTube. We put it on YouTube. Tuesday night show will be posted on YouTube every Sunday. In case you want to listen to it there, my picture's on the screen working at my tiki hut. Remember, I've got a book out there, The World Upside Down, Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. If you like what I'm talking about here, consider buying the book. If you don't like what I'm talking about, then you should not consider buying the book at all. But if you do like this, please buy it. You'll enjoy it. It's cheap. You'll enjoy it. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to talking with you again next week.